Yeah, so Hessam actually has a question, and maybe Mark is going to answer that through his presentation. But just quickly, I have a Master's of Science in Environmental Engineering, and as an international student, is this program suitable for me in the project management career, or is it better to continue in a postgraduate program?
Yeah, so why
Uh,
don't we just start off and I'll just start answering the questions.
yeah, I think that's great. Go ahead, Mark.
So, Hassam, I hope I'm saying your name right. Thank you. Very interesting question. It's kind of a loaded question, so let me touch on a couple things. Okay, the Master of Science Environmental Engineering program. I actually have a good sense of what you do because my degree is in chemical engineering, and they had a lot of they had an environmental program within the chemical engineering department at Queen's University where I went. So I kind of have a good sense of where you're coming from. And certainly the project management focus is a fantastic complementary set of courses for your current master's degree, which is phenomenal. And that is because the bulk of capital expense, so if you've got an accounting background or if you don't, but most projects are done through capital expense, and most corporations, well, both public sector and private sector organizations realize their policy objectives in the government sector or strategic objectives in the private sector through projects. And those projects are funded through capital expense. And in your area specifically with environmental engineering, many jobs exist in environmental engineering structured as projects. So that is why I am saying, Hassam, that it's very complimentary for you to get project management and very suitable. So I'll stop there. Hassam, do you want to ask me anything before I answer the second part of your question? Could you hear my answer? Does that make sense? Okay. Does that make sense, Hassam? It should. It's a fantastic compliment, actually.
Hessam replied, "Thank you." And to all of our new participants, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. Pardon me, us. Myself and Mark. My name is John. I'll be the host today, and Mark will be presenting. We're going to get started pretty much right away here. I just want to mention, if you do have any questions, please feel free to write them in chat or to unmute yourself using the button in the bottom left-hand corner. Okay, I'm going to give the floor to Mark now. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, John. So yeah, chime in with questions, but otherwise, I put in that for those of you who just joined us in the last minute or two, the web page that we're showing right now, so Business Administration Project Management Program, I sent that link in the chat. If you just joined us, you can see the link, but I'll just highlight a couple things. So you can see right here, 3 years, 6 semesters. I do know that some students try to speed up and do it in 2.5 years, including extra courses. I know that some students try and include all summer long, and I understand you can do that. Or if you like, you can take summer off. You'll notice the intake here, it doesn't say, the intake times are January and September as well. That's the official start of the program. So in other words, if you want to start your first of 6 semesters, you could do that first semester of the 6, either in January, that first semester in September is typically how it's structured. By the way, so both we welcome, of course, domestic, and a large part of our students are international. I'll just highlight, this is the domestic tuition. The international students apply through a separate link. If I scroll down, that should be here. No, I'll have to find that. But international students are a separate link, and I'm going to find it for you because
it's just at the top there, Mark, under the apply now.
Let's see.
Just on the right-hand side, right above program availability.
Oh, there we go. Fantastic. Yeah, I was being blocked by my windows. Okay, got it. Yeah, thank you for that. That is fantastic. And you'll see on this web page, I bring it. It's a great kind of initial page to get the overview and find the details quickly. So how to qualify and apply. Something I'll highlight Unless there's any questions. I think there's a question there. Is there? No, this session will be recorded. Okay. So I'll keep going. Something I will highlight is if you have work experience. So does anyone here have work experience? I'm curious. So when I say work experience, I mean business or project management. Business is a catch-all term. It could be marketing, it could be sales, it could be accounting. And then project management is project management. Does anyone have any work experience in those areas? Oh, okay. So someone says, oh, we have two. So let me see the first one. Actually, I worked and published papers in chemical engineering field. What you said really gave me so much hope. Oh, good. I'm glad. Thank you. I have in construction management field. So I don't know if those are two separate people, but for the first person that said I worked and published papers in chemical engineering, as well as the person that says, yes, if that's a separate person, I don't know, I have a construction management field. What you can do, and I'll go there in just a minute, you can apply to get credit for courses. I think that's important for everyone to know. So there's a process for you to get an exemption. And that process is called a PLAR request to ask for exemption. And let me just go to a link here.
I can link that for you, Mark.
Okay, go for it. Got it? Did you put it in the chat box, John, for everybody? Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, just dropped it.
Yeah, and if I can help help with PLAR to get you started if you want. So my email I should give, Mark Anglin at George Brown. John, we're georgebrown.ca, not George Brown College, right?
georgebrown.ca, that is correct.
Okay. So everyone, I put in the chat box. So the PLAR is an exemption process. The one thing I'll highlight, and it's important, if you apply for an exemption for any course based on your work experience, and by the way, it could be also based on previous academic knowledge. So you might have taken, for an example, 3 years ago, I don't know, an introduction to marketing course, an introduction to project management, an introduction to strategy. There's another one in the business world. But please note, you are tested. You don't just apply and get the exemption. Just please make a note that you will be tested on your knowledge. And if you say, I want to formally apply for an exemption for, say, a project management course, you will be tested by a professor, and the mark you receive will go on your George Brown transcript. So it's not, you got to prove yourself. That's all I'm saying. I'm not trying to scare you. I just want to make sure there's reality built in there. But yes, so that's that. In terms of the courses, so there's, maybe I'll say there's B126 is all coursework. So just to highlight in the chat box, B156 is, I'm going to guess 70% course. I shouldn't put a number in there. Is coursework plus either co-op or internship. Just so you, if you look in the chat box, because I bet most of you, if not all of you, probably have a sense. If you look in the chat box, if you want the B126 stream in project management, or the B156 stream, which is coursework plus co-op or internship. Okay. Any questions at all? Otherwise, I'll keep going. So of course, here, if you look on the left-hand side, your left-hand side, and description of what to expect with the project management focus. The project management diploma, it's all part of the Center for Business in the School of Management, just so you know where you'll be. And that can help you by telling you that if you want to contact admissions or the registrar or the contact center with questions, and you're interested in the project management diploma, it's good to highlight it's in the Center of Business School of Management. It helps them help you get answers. Okay, how to qualify. So here we go to admission requirements. You'll see what I clicked on, how to qualify here. Now, when it says so we're in the province, Toronto is in the province of Ontario. Again, some of you might be international students, and I bid you an extra special welcome. And what this equivalent means is you might be from Singapore, Vietnam, India, China. What it is you just have to present your credentials that would be equivalent to our, in Canada, province of Ontario. This is what we call high school. A secondary school diploma is what we call high school here in Ontario, right? You'll have a proficiency in English test if you're an international student. And I don't think it's very hard. There's just some basics there. And again, some basics in math. It's not hard. I'm not trying to scare you. I understand it's quite easy. So those are important admission. These are the most basic admission requirements. And there you go. Take admission assessment for English or math. I mentioned course exemptions. I won't say anything more unless you want to talk about it. That's the PLAR process. You can apply for course exemptions based on work experience and or previous academic knowledge and experience. And here's a good student. This is important for our friends in the international community, international students. There's your home page. So I don't know the details except that George Brown, you just have a separate entrance as an international student. Do not worry about it. It doesn't mean anything extra onerous. I think there's just a couple government requirements that have to be satisfied in terms of, getting access to Ontario education. It's nothing to worry about. Again, I teach in the university and college system, and certainly the majority of students are international students. So feel free to research that further. Any questions? So for the B126, again, that's the project management stream, all coursework. This is B126. B156 is the co-op / internship. You can look at the courses here. Let me make sure they change them on me from time to time. There you go. So it's 6 semesters. You need to complete 36 courses. And so you can also research in something I'll show you here on the website. You can find out what are the 28 mandatory courses. You get to take business electives, which are fun. And certainly business and project management, per the first question, go hand in hand. It's a great thing to have. And 3 general education. And you can go in the B156 all in. You can see what's expected of you here. So all these courses like Principles of Marketing, Fundamentals of Human Resources, these are all introductory courses. So George Brown provides all students with a fantastic transition from whatever you were doing before into the project management diploma stream. And you can see it here, semester 1, just all introduction, just start learning right from the start. And it's a lot of fun and great learning and continue on. So I'm showing semester 1 and semester 2. I'll go into it in detail if you like, but otherwise, I'd otherwise ask questions, or otherwise I will continue. So based in the town, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry there, Mark. We just had a very quick question and a very good one. one of our applicants asked, our class is going to be all online. And I would just like to address this for our fall session. Um, so obviously everyone is aware that we are currently in an ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, which is changing, as recently as yesterday here in Ontario. And I want to let you know that George Brown continues to look for guidance from the government as well as public health officials. And we remain quite optimistic about our fall. We look forward to having as many students as possible back on campus. And we are already preparing to provide students with the same college experience that they would otherwise be provided, if not for the pandemic. Having said that, we will, of course, ensure that we're in line with all public health guidelines at all times. And actually, as a student myself who has attended classes in person, I can personally attest to the fact that George Brown is doing everything in their due diligence and their capability to keep our students safe if you are required to come onto the campus itself. So in short, unfortunately, we don't have that information available as of yet, but we will make you aware as soon as possible. Thank you for your question, Carmen.
Yeah, fantastic answer, John. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, John. This is Jackie.
Hi, Jackie.
Hi, Mark. How are you?
Hi, good, Jackie. Welcome.
Hi, everyone. This is Jackie. I'm the Director of Planning, Operations, and Administration at the Center for Business. John has given you a great answer with regards to where we are at. We are obviously following public health guidelines. But with regards to Center for Business specifically, most of our programs are being very agile and are able to be delivered online. So it is very likely as of now that our fall semester in the Center for Business will be online. What our plans are for the winter is yet to be known, but right now the current climate is for us in the Center for Business to continue to engage our students in the online environment. And I appreciate that our colleagues from across the college is doing our very best at making services and other forms of interactions available on campus. So there will be programs that might be offered on campus in the fall, and that will be done according to public health measures. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie, for adding that in. From you, Jackie and John, very full answers. Does anyone have any questions of
Yes.
Jackie or John or myself right now?
We did have another question from Hessam. What are the job opportunities in Toronto for B156 programs, and how much PMP certificate and how much does the PMP certificate affect employment rates as well as income for graduates of this program?
Okay, so let me parse that into two. So what are the job opportunities? It's interesting. When I do my weekly classes with students, I build in exercises where we do job searches online related to the project management topic we're covering. And it's fascinating to see there are lots of jobs. There are lots of jobs if you look under the words, if you do a Google search, so wherever you live. So if we're here in the GTA, Greater Toronto area, or certainly if you're in Vietnam, you look locally there, just search. There's different words: project coordinator, project scheduler, project manager, and also things like organizational change consultant, change manager. One can imagine with COVID has triggered a great deal of change, possibly the greatest change in organizations, both public sector and private sector, since maybe the internet boom back in the late 90s. And as a result, when change, the significance of that to you here in project management is when change happens, change is managed through projects typically, because projects implement a structure which you will learn about here at George Brown that allows that change to happen in generally the most efficient and cost-effective manner to realize the objectives of the organization. So all this change with COVID directly ties into George Brown project management diplomas, and it ties right into there's a lot of jobs out there, and I could give you more words to search on. In fact, it's a great time to get a project management certificate. I'm going to stop there. Are there any follow-up questions to the first part of the first answer I gave? We're good? Okay. Did that answer your question on job opportunities? Of course, Agile, I could go on more, but I just want a bit of a structured approach here. Okay, the second part. What was the wording again? The PMP, how does the PMP impact? Can you give me the wording, John, again, please?
Yeah, I believe Hessam is wondering how important is the PMP certification in terms of being employed? So does it affect the employment rate as well as incomes for graduates?
Okay, so my first answer to questions like that, I'm going to give you my answer. But I always suggest you talk to other people, where other people would be human resources managers in small, mid, and large organizations, and get their input. My answer, though, is pretty well founded, given what I do day to day and my connections. Is as a high level kind of separator. Large in the private sector anyways. I cannot speak to the public sector. So I'm a corporate guy, in the private sector, project management, the large organizations do like to see certifications. And that's partly related to their own risks and liabilities. So there's a reason why banks, telecom companies like Rogers, Bell, TELUS, energy companies, oil and gas, or Enbridge, insurance companies, all these, they do like certifications, and therefore they do like to see PMP. So therefore, in large private sector organizations, PMP can affect your employability. I cannot speak to if you get extra money if you're a PMP, but I am absolutely 100% confident that in large private sector organizations, the more certifications you get, and if you're interested in project management, having a PMP, and there's many others like Agile certifications, et cetera, the more attractive you are as a potential employee. So whoever asked the question, did I answer your question? I think I did, but you let me know, please.
Okay, and while we're waiting just to hear back from that quick response, I did also want to mention that George Brown does offer a dedicated job board specifically to its students as well as its alumni. And this is a resource for our students where companies, both private as well from the public sector, are looking for George Brown graduates or students, specifically because they've received either a good recommendation, or they have hired students from these programs before. So that is something also that I would like to add that George Brown does offer. And Hessam has responded. He says, thanks a lot, Mark. So that's wonderful. I believe we can continue if there are no other questions.
Okay, just to keep on that same stream, Hessam, thank you, about co-op. I'm going to put in the chat box for everybody. So in the chat box, you'll see 2 bullets. So I pointed to you, and John, I'm sorry if you did this earlier. I'm sorry, I didn't see it, but you'll see the first bullet is a link to the co-op program. And very importantly here, for what I do, overseeing the project management, you'll see the second bullet is the B156 co-op. And if you have more specific questions about co-op, absolutely, you're welcome to email me. Chances are, the more specific questions are, I'm going to point you to Gladys. So she's the one that deals with that day to day and certainly knows more than I do on the details of George Brown's co-op. But Gladys is a phenomenal and fantastic resource to Hessam or others who want to pursue that further. And again, you're welcome to email me. If I can answer the question or share anything, I absolutely will to help you. Okay. Mission requirements, domestic, international, funding. I'm just thinking what else I can go through. Yeah, so let me put, I'm going to put 3 bullets in the chat box if any of you are interested in trying to transfer credits and learning more about that. I mean, we want to help you any way we can. So you'll see 3 bullets in the chat box now with 3 links, so you can research further. And if you are interested in transferring credits, you do it through those links. You can email me and I can help you. Transferring credits is different than exemptions. So please make a note. I spoke about exemptions earlier. Exemptions is that PLAR process that John kindly provided information on. So exemption is something called PLAR, where we will challenge you and test you and give you a grade. And that grade goes on your George Brown transcript. That's an exemption. The transfer credit is slightly different. Transfer credit is acknowledging that you took a course at another academic institution, and we will evaluate, and I do for project management, if that course that you're transferring a credit for is the same standard as what the credit you would get for the George Brown course. In other words, I just simply map the details of a course you took elsewhere to the equivalent course at George Brown and render a decision that you can get a transfer credit or you don't. And I can tell you about, I've done a bunch of these, roughly, I don't want to dissuade, the majority of them I do assign, you get the credit, but there's been a few I have declined the request to transfer the credit because the course that somebody was asking a credit from was not foundationally and materially the same as the George Brown course. So there's kind of a thought process, and I can explain that another time if you want to learn more. Okay. I've got really nothing else, unless anyone has specific questions.
Thanks a lot, Mark. That was great. To all of our attendees, thank you so much for attending today. If you do have any questions, please feel free to type them in the chat or to unmute yourself using the button in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. I have tried to provide everybody with voice permissions. However, sometimes it's a little finicky. And if that's the case for you, please do type it instead. Also, I'd be happy to help anybody with general questions. Carmen asks, classes with start in classes. Yes, I do have the specific date here. Pardon me, let me just grab that for you.
Yes, correct. There's a January intake and a September intake.
So classes for fall 2021 start on, I'll actually write that out, on September 7th, 2021. Good question. Always good to plan ahead. Yeah, we have another question here. I'm Hessam, and I was wondering if postgraduate project management certificate is better for master's graduates or not. And Mark, I defer that to you.
It likely is. I mean, it probably warrants a discussion to understand your background more. Sam, really good questions you're asking. You can see on the screen I'm showing There's something called postgraduate project management, B415, and international business management. For the project management, you'll see on the left, I'm going to click on this, project management postgraduate. And you can compare the courses. I do know there's a great deal of overlap in the topics covered in the postgraduate project management. For example, I'm showing scope. This is all the same. That's the same. However, yeah. So yeah, do you know what? So here's how I'm going to answer your question, Hassam. Now I see the postgraduate. If you've got the basics of project management academically and or work combined with your master's, I would lean towards the graduate program. I see it here now. I'm in the undergrad program. But yeah. If project management is new to you completely, the lens you want to look, Hassam, through is, if project management is new, you'd want the undergrad program. You're going to learn more about project management, where I can see here they're introducing kind of strategy, client management, simulations, and case studies, which imply that, if you look at the bottom, project management case studies and project management simulation, that assumes you've got all the project management courses down. So Hassam, again, no project experience, do the undergrad. If you do have project experience, specifically I'm talking about experience, not your master's degree, you'll notice, then take the graduate program. And you can email me if you want to talk more about that, but that's definitely my answer, Hassam.
It's a really good question. And I want to say that George Brown, first and foremost, is committed to try and making our education as accessible as possible. I'm not, unfortunately, and if Mark has more expertise here, please feel free to chime in, but I'm not specifically aware if we provide any type of financial solutions for you in this case. However, I would like to provide you with our accessible learning services contact information, and I will post it in the chat shortly thereafter. This detachment of the university works with students to set up their accommodation plans if they do need one. But I do understand that you are looking more for it seems like financial assistance. So I will also link our financial aid office information in the chat as well. And I would encourage you to also take a look at the insurance plans that the school does provide. They are offered, however, through our student association services. So you would have to, I guess, educate yourself on their plans and what they do provide. But unfortunately, yeah, I'm so sorry, Carmen, I don't have that specific information for you. Thank you, Mark, for posting the financial aid. I promised Carmen I would post accessible learning services. And I should say that, despite the college being closed, our accessible learning services for any student requiring any type of extra assistance if need be, I want to let you know that our assessment center is open virtually, and we can help students who require adaptive technologies and or reading or scribing as well. So that is something that we still maintain despite the remote work situation. So if that's all, everyone, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you, Mark, for your presentation. It's very informative. That is it for today. If you do have any outstanding questions, feel free to email Mark. He did post his email earlier in the chat. And if you do have any general questions about the college or other services and facilities that we do offer, please feel free to contact the George Brown College Contact Center. That information is readily available on our website, or you can call us at 416-415-2000. Pretty easy to remember. All right, well, that's it for me. Thank you so much. Mark, any last words?
No, but thank you to John, and thank you very importantly, all of you attended. This was a lot of fun, everyone. I hope we see you again.